Welcome to the Good Growing Podcast. I am Chris Enroth, horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension, coming at you from Macomb, Illinois, and we have got a great show for you today. What's happening this fall? What's going on in the yards and landscapes? What are Ken and I have on the to-do list? Well, we are going to talk about how we are shutting things down or changing things up or shifting to a new growing time of year. And you know I'm not doing this by myself. I'm joined, of course, and as always, by horticulture educator Ken Johnson in Jacksonville. Hey, Ken.
Hello, Chris. I'm excited for these cooler temperatures. Can open up the house again. Don't have to sweat every time I go outside.
It is nice to have these cooler temperatures. We have been enjoying the screens and the the air that comes through the screens, fresh air. That's what it's called. But I guess what is my major stumbling block here is with that fresh air is coming brown marmorated stink bug. And we have soybeans in the field behind our house. They haven't been harvested yet, but I think we all know what's going to happen once the combine comes through is we are going to be overcome with lady beetles. So not looking forward to that. Again, enjoying the fresh air. Maybe I need to do a little bit better caulking, sealing cracks and crevices, rescreening some windows, maybe keep them critters out.
Yeah, maybe some mice too when they harvest.
Yes, exactly. There will be. There usually are. We are fortunate that we have a couple cats that will, at least of our cats, there are two of them that will just watch the mice run by. They are not hunters. They don't really show any interest in it. But we did have a wild cat. His name's Jack. He kind of adopted us and said, I'm going to live here. Essentially, we had the door to our house open. We were getting drywall delivered in the middle of winter, and the drywall delivery folks pointed to a black cat in the corner and said, "Is that your cat?" And I said, "No, I've never seen that cat before in my life." And that's how we got Jack.
Well, keep the mouse in line for you.
He will. He does. He does. Yep. Oh, well, Ken, I guess today we're going to be chatting about kind of what we're doing out in the yard, what's going on in the landscape, and how we are transitioning to maybe not sweating every time we go outside, but still enjoying the weather in shorts, right? Because this is still shorts weather for you.
Shorts weather till we get down into the 30s.
There you go. Well, I guess my first question is maybe some of the pops of color. Ken, you planting any mums this year?
Usually we don't because my wife is allergic to them and she complains that she can't breathe. So we don't plant too many, but I know a lot of people do. And it's a popular plant for many people. For some, it is a four-letter word in more ways than one. But it is, at the time of year, you go to I was at a garden, or not garden, a home improvement store that is orange, and they had all kinds of mums as far as the eye could see. There's also some other stuff you see, like the flowering kale or cabbage. That's another popular one this time of year. As far as kind of those more annual crops that we would buy or plant, even though we mums can be perennial. They are hardy to zone 5 for a lot of them, so we could overwinter them outdoors. And a lot of people that try to do that aren't necessarily successful. A couple reasons for that. One is we're really planting them at the wrong time of year. Should be planting these in spring so they get well established. If we are planting them in the fall, sooner rather than later. Not saying you couldn't establish them now, but we're kind of getting on the tail end of being able to do that, depending on where you're at in the state. Now, if you are going to be planting them outdoors, they like moist soil, but not wet feet, so well draining, but they still like that moisture. They're fairly shallow rooted, so mulching those is going to help. If you want to try to overwinter them, help with that frost heaving. As that soil freezes and thaws, stuff can work out of the soil. So mulching to help moderate that soil temperature can help improve that. Planting them in a kind of a protected location prevents some of those cold northern winds and stuff from getting on them. So somewhat close to a house can help keep that a little bit warmer and stuff. And one thing I think a lot of people do, if they do plant them outdoors, is when they, we get a couple hard freezes, everything starts dying back. They take all that top growth off. It's a good idea to leave that there because that'll catch leaves and stuff, and again help insulate that crown a little bit. So there's several different ways we can try to, I guess, help the plants and give them a better chance of getting established and stuff. Another option would be just leave them in the pot, bring them inside, put them in a cool, dark location, um, water them occasionally just to keep that soil kind of damp. Don't want it really wet. And then once growth resumes in the spring, put it back outside and plant it.
Mine usually wind up just becoming compost. So that's the end result for my mums. We'll usually decorate our front porch with that, pumpkins and such, and then we'll nestle our mums in also in and amongst some of our plantings in the landscape, among the New England aster and our stiff goldenrod. And so, they fit in well with nice pops of color, just like how we would use something like a petunia or a vinca in the summer months. So it's just another annual, well, even though it could be perennial, another annual, that's the way I use it, to dress up and give some pops of color to parts of the yard, or maybe to help complement some other plants that we already have flowering at the time.
Yes, yeah. If you want to take on a challenge, try to overwinter them, and then because you can get some pretty big plants if you can overwinter them and successfully and stuff. So
Yes. Uh, Now you say that, and what immediately came to mind were the poinsettias that we kept alive after Christmas, and then we grew. Those also become quite large. They're essentially woody shrubs the next year. So it's yeah, these plants which we have for these kind of seasonal things, they can become quite big in the right spot.
yeah, just like tomatoes, if you grow them long enough,
That's
they'll
right.
get monstrous.
Or peppers. Yeah, my
Hmm.
peppers this late in the year, they're starting to develop that woody stem. And now it is the time for me to decide, do I just let them die with that first frost, or do I try to bring them inside and grow more peppers? Because in the past, when I've done this, I've usually gotten kind of I would say a very uh, little tiny harvest. Not really worth all the effort, but you can still harvest peppers even in the winter months if you have some going. That's a decision everyone must make for themselves this time of year.
How much space do you have, and how much light do you have?
That's right. Yeah.
And what are the other inhabitants of your house going to think?
They don't get a decision in that, or they don't get a say in that decision.
So if we can stay on that vein and I guess talk about houseplants since we're moving stuff in.
Hmm.
Um, so what's your houseplant routine or your pepper routine for this time of year?
Well, it is always a hope to have a more prepared space for my house plants. Um, I would say what the plan is, maybe not what will actually wind up happening, but what the plan is we do have in our basement in this kind of storage area. I have several light racks set up where I will be moving in a lot of our ginger and turmeric, which angle angle. I still have lots of those. I just can't let them die. I have to keep them going. I could harvest them, I could eat them, but no, I want to keep growing them. And so most of my space is going to be dedicated to that. I probably have about 10 flats worth of that stuff. And, you know, flats are one thing, but you also have to consider the vertical height too. Ginger gets pretty tall, turmeric is tall, galangal is tall. They're all about waist high, a good healthy plant. So um, my my light racks pretty much go from having like four shelves to maybe two. Pretty often it's just one, and the leaves I'll remove several of the shelves, and the leaves will just go up to the top light fixture, um, until most of the ginger will begin to go dormant in December, and then I will then stack those on top of each other, and then I will move my house plants from the garage, which are languishing in the garage, saying, "Please move us inside. It's cold out here. There's not enough light." Then I'll move my house plants into the house out of the garage. Now, I would really like to pot up or repot some of my house plants. So I have an angel's trumpet, I have a pothos, I have a couple of house plants that really needed to be repotted. And the question is, will that get done before that first frost sets in? I'm not sure. Um, so that is my houseplant routine. And that's the plan, at least. It will probably just wind up being, oh no, tonight it's going to frost, and now I have to do the houseplant shuffle and get them all in the garage, and then it's going to be a week of nice weather, and I take them back outside. So that will be what I do. I really should be acclimating them to the lower light conditions, which I could probably do in my garage, but we'll see if it happens. Ken, you have more houseplants than me, though. I don't know what I'm talking about. What do you do?
So we've started the annual dance of taking them in and out. So we're
Mhm.
recording this on Tuesday. I think here in Jacksonville it's supposed to get down into the upper 30s, low 40s tonight. So lunch, I brought some stuff in. We'll bring some more stuff in tonight. But then later this week, it's going to be back up into the 80s, lows in the 50s. So it'll all move back out again. We try to keep stuff out as long as possibly can. Sometimes probably a little longer than we should, because again, like they don't get really acclimated, and then they're in for a rough month or so as they get acclimated, and everything looks really crummy. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We should be isolating stuff so I don't have um, another giant mealybug or scale outbreak like we did last year. So ideally, that's what we'd be doing. But this is definitely a do as I say, not as I do, because it's probably
Mhm.
not going to happen the way I should do it.
Right. Well, and I will also follow up. You talk about mealy bugs and scale. Those are really things that we bring in from the outside, which natural predators often they keep to a fairly manageable population, something that most plants can just overcome whatever damage they're encountering. Those predators and parasitoids, things, they will manage some of those pests for us. But you bring them inside, well, we don't have those predators. Um, I will say another thing that we can bring inside is, in my case, every year, about middle of winter, I will find toads in my basement. These big old warty toads, which have burrowed into some of my house plants outside. They get the conditions just right. I don't know if it's temperature or moisture or whatever it is, and they pop out. And I'll just be downstairs tending to plants, and all of a sudden, scares me to death. I jump and scream, and there's just this big old warty toad just hopping around the basement there. So, and that's why I also want to repot my house plants. Is maybe I can find them and put them somewhere where they're not going to be in my house over the winter.
Yeah, ants would be another one.
Hmm.
Sometimes they'll build a colony in your house plant. Sometimes you can flush them out with water. Other times repotting may be your best bet if you don't want ants all over your house.
Exactly. Yes. Eesh. Ants. I guess ants don't scare me as much. I'm not too worried about ants. Um, but you don't want to see colonies of them in your house. They can become a nuisance. Some of them can bite still. So, yeah, you don't have to deal with them. Well, Ken, you know, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, pretty much everything we can think of right now, we're pulling things out. But there is one thing that I can think of that we will be planting, and that's garlic. Have you ordered
Yes.
your garlic this year?
Yeah. Came got here yesterday.
It arrived. I got my shipment notification yesterday, so it's all on its way. Garlic is forthwith coming.
Yes, we got 3 pounds of garlic to plant for the office. Stuff we order for home hasn't shown up yet, but tis the season for planting garlic. So usually we're doing this. I try to do it like late September, early October. You can go later than that. I basically you want to get enough time so they can get those roots established. So basically, you're going to take your bulb, you're going to break it apart into the individual cloves and plant those. You don't want to break that up until you're planting, so don't get it and then break it up and then wait a few days. Do that as you're planting. Obviously, ideally, you're just planting the biggest ones. That's going to give you the biggest the bulbs and stuff. Plant smaller ones, you're going to get smaller bulbs. It's still tastes the same, but if you've got limited space, just plant the bigger ones and give the other ones away or eat them if you're not going to use them. Yeah, and there's plant those flat side down. So on that root plate, that's where the roots are going to come from. Plant them pointy side up, several inches deep. Cover that up. I like to mulch mine because uh, garlic isn't a terribly good competitor with weeds. So mulch that again, help with that soil insulation, moisture, all that stuff. Plant that early enough, the roots will start establishing. There's been some years, it was last year, we had pretty mild fall and winter. I actually had green growth coming up, which is fine. That persisted most of the year. I think eventually died back, but it still sent out new stuff. I still got garlic. So if you do have stuff poking out, it's not the end of the world. It's not necessarily a bad thing if it starts growing.
Yeah. Our planting date for garlic, it is pretty much set in stone every single year. We plant late. We plant the first weekend of November, and that has done very well for us. Just like Ken, we plant 2 to 3 times the depth of that clove, and we mulch over top. And yes, we got lots of green growth last year up until that hard freeze we got in February. And then that growth disappeared for just a little bit, and then it just resumed right back after it warmed up again. So, um, yeah, so we plant pretty late. I know you will hear a lot more recommendations to say plant earlier, and I'd say whatever works for your schedule is best. But the later you plant, as Ken mentioned, the less time you have for that root system to establish itself before the cold weather sets in, if it ever does set in. We hasn't happened a few winters here now, so you just gotta do what you've been doing, and hopefully weather trends will do what they have also been doing in the past, but that doesn't always seem to be happening.
Yeah, I think one thing we're going to try this year, I'm going to try at home is take a few and put them in a raised bed.
Mhm.
'Cause the soil we have at our house is fairly heavy, and it's kind of a pain to dig it, especially if the soil is wet. It gets kind of mucky and slimy. So I'm going to try some. I think that's one reason sometimes we get smaller bulbs than we could just because the soil is so heavy. So I'm going to try some in raised beds. And so hard neck, we should go back and like talk about hard neck, soft neck garlic. So hard neck garlic is going to be the more hardy of the two. So ideally, in Illinois, especially further north, you get hard neck's going to be your best option. Soft neck, I've planted that a few times, and I usually lose a decent amount of it. I get some, but not nearly as much as I do hard neck. So, but that hard neck, some of that stuff is really cold hardy. So raised beds, I don't think should be too much of an issue putting them in there.
Mhm. Yeah, I've had a similar conversation with our master gardeners with kind of the smaller bulb size that we're expecting something a bit larger, and in some of our other planting beds we have gotten a larger yield. But I think we're going to try nitrogen fertilizer to maybe see if we can bump that up a little bit. Ours have been pretty diminutive recently in recent years, and so we've done a soil test, and everything shows that soil looks okay. Maybe they're just not getting the nitrogen that they need through the growing season. So we're going to try that this year. We'll report back.
You going to do that at planting or later or both?
Well, at planting, oh, good point. The one thing I did forget. So we also, so we have like a planting party. I'll have my drill, be drilling it out. We'll have a person with a bucket of compost. They will plop a handful of compost in the planting hole. Other person plops in the garlic, and then someone else comes behind, mounds it up, pulls the mulch back over top, and yeah, so it's a multi-person effort. So we hadn't really thought about putting nitrogen down at planting. Now we need an extra person for that. So maybe we can mix it. If it's
Mix with the
granular, we can
compost.
mix it in with the compost. Yeah, yeah. So I do have a bag of poultry manure I really need to get rid of, and I don't like this. I do not like poultry manure. It smells awful. I'm sure it's a great fertilizer, but you have to take like 5 showers after you handle that stuff.
See, for ours, I usually just dig a trench and put it in there,
Mhm.
which is probably a lot more work than using a drill. But
Do you have a bull bogger? Okay,
like,
just slap that thing in your drill. There you go.
tried using it for planting sprig bulbs once. I almost broke my wrist because that the soil is just so heavy. It just caught that thing and
You got to
almost
brace it
ripped my
between
arm
your
off.
legs or there. Yeah. So yeah, when I am doing spring bulb planting, I brace my drill kind of between my knees. I also have a very light touch on the drill. So if it does go south, I let go. And that's easier said than done though. And so you kind of, yeah, you also, however you're bracing it on your leg or something, you sort of know which way it will kick at you if if it stops, if the bit stops spinning, but the drill keeps spinning. That's the thing that gets you.
Show up with a sprained MCL. We know why.
Yes, there you go. You know what I did. And casts on both of my hands. I was planting spring bulbs in my clay soil. Hit a brick.
So, speaking of soils, and you've mentioned this already, but soil testing. So, this is another thing we can be doing this time of year. And I will admit, this is another do as I say, not as I do.
Mhm.
I've never soil tested my garden. I don't know if I should be admitting that, but
You
I
let's
should. I need to.
do
We'll put it that
let's
way.
do better, Ken. Um, we can soil test our garden. So that is something I am going to do this year after struggling with my namely my peppers. So I had poblanos, one in ground, one in container. The ones in the containers are planted a little bit later than the ones in ground, and the container ones just flourished. The ones in the soil barely did anything. And yeah, is it light levels? I don't think so because they were pretty close to each other. Same lighting conditions. The main difference was the soil and planting time too. But the ones that I planted sooner were the ones in the ground. So they should have been more farther along and they weren't. By the way, I am harvesting my my poblano peppers right now. So they can be harvested green, but I waited until they turn red. I have red, which is Trident, and then there's the orange one, which I'm forgetting the name of right now. Um, mwah, delicious. Um, I need to find like authentic Mexican cheese though to stuff these with because that's the hard thing in Macomb is finding some good ingredients of stuff. But anyway, we're talking about soil. I guess I'm hungry. Um, I'm going to soil test this year. Long story short, it's going to happen, and fall is a great time to do it.
Yeah, I need to. I've noticed our yields on stuff have dropped off a little bit. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing because you only can eat so many tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff, but it's not quite as good as when we started that garden 6, 7 years ago. So
Uh, you're leaving the golden era of that garden.
yes, it's getting old. So maybe this weekend that'll be on the to-do list. Then we can have a show
So
about talking about our results and how to
there
rate
you
that.
go. There you go. That's a great idea. And because this always comes up when I talk about soil testing, where do we send those tests? Boy, I wish U of I Extension did that, but we do not accept soil samples. We refer folks to there. We have a web page, Illinois soil testing. I guess you could ask the internet. Just type this in Illinois soil testing labs, and our web page should be one of the first ones up. It's a pretty popular one, and there is a link on there. There's basically three links. The first link will take you to a list of commercial certified labs, which is what we recommend. These labs have been certified to provide, they've had met certain standards for their testing. We also have a link to other land grant universities that still do soil testing in their labs. There's a link to those there. And then I think we have another one. Indiana Illinois Sea Grant has a list of soil labs also, which pretty much mirrors the commercial lab one link that I mentioned first off there. But that's where we recommend sending them. Costs about, I guess these days, $20 for a soil test. Um, and yeah, I'd say shop around, and we have more resources on that website if you have questions about how to sample or test your soil. Well, Ken, after you test your soil this year, which you will do now, um, are you going to be planting? Do you got any room for trees and shrubs in your yard? I've been there, and you grow a lot of things, so you might not have space for these. But that's one thing we do recommend this time of year is not a that it is a good time for planting woody plants. So you planting anything like that?
Woodies. Not, we don't have any woodies. We do are planting some herbaceous perennials. So another thing you plant in the fall, but no, I think they're all herbaceous. No, no woodies this year. Maybe next year. We'll
Mhm.
throw some more in there. And yeah, especially, since we told everybody not to plant stuff this spring or last
Yes.
fall,
Yes.
people probably have a backlog of stuff you want to plant if you if you listen to us. And if you didn't, maybe you don't. But yeah, now that, well, hopefully, the rain continues. Typically, our typical fall, we get, pretty consistent moisture. So, we're planting these, we can get good establishment, get those roots established before cold weather comes in. And even, as that top kind of goes dormant, those roots are still growing and reaching out into the soil and stuff. So, yeah, fall is another good time. There are some usually evergreens. We usually do those in the spring.
Yeah, we like evergreens in the spring mainly because it gives them longer time where the soil is not frozen, where they can establish the root system because unlike deciduous plants, evergreens hold on to their foliage. So they, even in the winter, they are at risk to drought, desiccation, windburn, things like that that can occur to their leaves, whereas it cannot happen with our deciduous plants that are dropping their leaves in the fall. So yeah, we usually say with evergreens, if ideal time of your planting is going to be in spring. Um, Deciduous plants, spring or fall. And why is that? Because, well, usually it is the most reliable time of year for rainfall um, to help get those plants established. I guess you could plant, I've planted trees and shrubs in the 100-degree weather. I've planted them in the middle of winter. It just, however much you want to baby them and, limp them along to better weather that is more conducive to their root growth. Hey, you can really plant any time of year, but fall for at least deciduous plants, that's a really great time. That's usually when I will be planting my deciduous plants.
And even if it does stay dry, it's not as hot, so that water isn't. We're not losing as much of that from the soil either. So you're still going to need to water, but not as much as if you were planting in 100-degree weather in
Yeah.
July or August.
Yep. And mulch, can help insulate that and hold some of that moisture in there, protect those roots. And the other thing that will need protection is from Bambi. You will, because this time of year, especially our bucks, as they develop new antlers, well, they're itchy, I guess, and they really like younger trees to rub their antlers on. And so this can start as early as September, but I really start seeing a lot of tree damage from bucks and rubbing in starting in October. That's when I usually will see it in my neck of the woods. And then, all winter long we'll go on hikes and we'll see all these trees that just get, massacred by these bucks coming through, itching their antlers on them.
If you've got deer, cage them.
Yes, put a cage around them, put them in jail. Physical exclusion, it's the best way to go about it. Because then you have to deal with them wanting to eat them in the winter if it's a pretty hard winter.
All right. One last thing we've got on our list is lawn stuff.
Hmm.
So again, fall is another good time to catch up on that lawn work that maybe you've put off or haven't done ever.
Yep. Yep, I know. Ken, you still have a really nice lawn though for not doing anything to it. You do mow it though, right?
I do. Obviously, I haven't looked very close. It's green, but it's not the grass.
I don't know. It looked nice to me when I was at your house last. I'm like, man, Ken's got a nice yard. He's got this nice lawn. He's got lots of native plants. He's got all kinds of vegetables growing everywhere. He got a little bit of everything. So, but when it comes to lawn care, boy, it is October 1st. A lot of times I would be talking about this August 1st. Um, So it feels like we're a little bit late, but we, at least here in my neck of the woods, we're so delayed in a lot of the things because it has been incredibly dry. Um, like I think I've only mowed my lawn. I mowed it this past weekend, but it was mainly just to push some of the leaves away from certain spots. Um, so I don't know if I should count that, but I think that would make 4 times this summer, um, and now fall. It's been so dry here, and very often what I will do is I'll overseed with a newer variety of lately it's been turf type tall fescue. This year I overseeded with Xanadu, um, which if you ever heard, I think it's like a 1970s movie. I watched it once as a little kid and I was like, this is weird. But the name stuck in my head. And so I wanted to try the turf grass, which actually also ranked very high in the National Turf Grass Evaluation Program. Um, and so I've overseeded with that, but there's been no rain. And so I've really just sort of been on hold with my Xanadu seed, hoping it's going to rain soon so I can put my seed down. The problem with turf type tall fescue, though, is that as a young seedling, it's not as cold hardy. And so a hard frost could come in October and just totally wipe out everything that might germinate. So I might not be putting seed down this year. I have one spot where I had to seed, where we had mulch delivered and we killed a large part of the lawn. So I had to supplement that with a little sprinkler, but I think I'm just going to not overseed this year. I have not fertilized either because again, there's been no rain. There's been nothing to water it in. So here I sit with all my lawn chores and no rain to do anything with them.
So got our cover crop down last weekend before we got all that. So I guess 2 weekends ago when we got all
Mhm.
that rain, I got it in. Hadn't checked the radar, so I put the sprinkler on, watered for about an hour or so, and then the rains came, and so now I've got some pretty good ryegrass coming up. But
The only reason it
I got
rained is
lucky.
because you watered.
Pretty much yes. If
Mhm.
you're in Jacksonville area, you're welcome. It's the only reason we got rain.
Yeah, we did get a good rainfall. I think that was a good slow day of rain. Things kind of perked back up, but we've had fall leaf drop early September just because everything's so dry and the trees are dropping their leaves. A lot of non-native Norway maples, which are not very well adapted to this type of weather, uh, I see around town. They look awful. So I'm guessing they're going to get cut down coming up. And I have one in my front yard, which I have been cursing at and insulting and saying, you need to die. And hey, I think it's about to die after our awful drought that we've had these last few years. So um, I'll have some Norway maple firewood.
Have the kids practice weed whacking around it. Just girdle it.
Yes, there you go. Well, it does a pretty good job of that itself. It's got some nice girdling roots, I imagine, underneath the soil there, which is Norway maple is notorious for that. Um, I think we've mentioned this a few times on the podcast this year. Our disdain of Norway maple, poor tree, didn't want to be planted here. We brought it over here. So
Suffering will be over soon, though.
it will be. But anyway, lawn stuff on hold, even core aeration. You can't do that in dry soil, so you just wait. Extended forecast, at least in Macomb, is no rain for the next 10 days. So nice and dry.
Yeah, I think we're the same here. We were, the radar the past week with the hurricane, we were just west and north of everything. It just
Mm.
barely missed Jackson. We got spit a little bit here and there, but
Mhm.
missed all of that.
And and usually cool, dry falls are good for fall color when it comes to our deciduous plants, but a lot of folks are saying it's it might be more of a kind of tannish brown fall because tree leaves are just giving up the ghost there right at the very end that as the chlorophyll fades all the other pigments have also faded. And so we might not have a very good fall color, but that remains to be seen. Maybe trees in your area have tapped into a sewer pipe or something somewhere, and they're doing just fine. They're going to have some great fall color. Well, that was a lot of great information about things that we could be doing around this time of year as we go from summer into fall and we start putting on our hoodies, or as Ken says, just keep wearing shorts. The Good Growing Podcast is a production of University of Illinois Extension, edited this week by Ken Johnson, and a special thank you to Ken Johnson. Ken, thank you for hanging out with me this week. It's good to see you again after a couple of weeks off, as we gallivanted around the state doing other extension-y things. Good to talk to you today.
Yes, good talking to you too. I'm gonna go get my shorts and do a soil test. And let's do this again next week.
Oh, we shall do this again next week. Oh, the fall season has begun, and we're busier than ever. So we look forward to next week's show, and where we will talk about more gardening topics. So listeners, thank you for doing what you do best, and that is listening. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, watching. And as always, keep on growing.